Well, Dad always said, when all else fails, read the instructions. Now, where did I put those things?
Hello, everyone. You are listening to Tim McKinney of ITW Evercoat. Evercoat, the brand trusted by more shops for automotive, commercial, and marine repairs than any others for almost 70 years. Bringing you continued innovations like Light Speed Repair System to streamline and improve repairs at the speed of light. Optex filler with color-changing technology and Optex Super Build with a built-in guide coat. And now, here's Tim.
Okay, you've applied one of the products, whether it's a filler, whether it's a putty, a resin, or even a gel coat, and something didn't go right. First thing is, slow down a second, take a breath. First thing I always say to do is, make sure that the product is good. I've got some information I've talked about before on how to check the batch dates. Make sure you got fresh product, and by all means, make sure you have fresh catalyst. And that's really going to be important for the MEKP liquid hardener. It's a clear tube. If it's been sitting in the sun for a while, it can go bad and you won't even know it. With the cream hardeners, you'll kind of know it because they're going to separate. They're going to look really dark. They're going to have a little water around the outside of the edge when you're looking at it as it's coming out. So those are telltale signs. And remember, it's only a little bit of that has to catalyze the rest of it off. But what if you've done all that and you still can't figure out what the heck is going on? Well, look at the technical data sheet for the product. What are the approved substrates? There's only a couple things that will really mess up how a polyester will cure. And those two things are really this: zinc, which is in the galvanized metal, and an acid. So if you put a polyester over either of those two coatings, and they're not meant to go over those two coatings, it's going to kind of make the reaction just go to sleep. So look at those two things. Whenever we typically hear about the product not curing properly, it's either going to be because there's not enough catalyst put in, or it looks like you put the right amount of catalyst in. You check the batch date and find out, it's a little long in the tooth. Maybe it get some other product. If you have that situation come up, stop, go get some fresh hardener, try it with your product. First, check your product, make sure it's within date. And if it is, and it's the hardener, try it again on a test batch, on something inert, a piece of wood, a piece of cardboard, a scrap fender, something that's been cleaned that you just want to see, did it cure properly? If it did, then there's something going on below the surface. Now, again, it could be something that was in there. If it were wiped with something, quite often I see where the repairs have been wiped with a wax and grease remover or some kind of a prep wipe that has maybe it's leaving a coating on there. Those can have a reaction as well. Then you want to take a look at, was anything put over top of it? Was something put over top of that wouldn't have been compatible? I've seen coatings that say that they don't want to go over top of one or the other, and polyesters that don't want to go over top of some epoxies. So look at your coating manufacturer's recommendation. If you spread an epoxy down, then you put a polyester filler or putty over top of it, see if it says it can be top coated with a polyester. Not all of them can. If you need more information on that, we have a tech tip on the website that talks about polyester over epoxies, and that will help give you some guidelines for that. But generally, if you see something that's failed after the fact where it looked like it cured okay, and it's cracking over time, pretty much that's a telltale sign for us that it wasn't properly catalyzed. And again, you may have put the right amount in, but if the catalyst was old, that may not necessarily work properly. So what causes the cracking? So there's the resin that's in these products has a small amount of solvent, obviously. You smell that when you're working with the materials. If it did not cure all the way, and the technical term we say is polymerize, it's a polymer. It's got to go through a chemical reaction. It's got to go through a full level of exothermic reaction. Remember that word. And if it didn't reach that, and now you paint it dark, or it's sitting outside exposed to Mother Nature all the time, it's going to get hot. As it gets hot, either because of the color or the exposure, it's going to re-excite that material. So if it didn't reach full curing temperature from it was going through all that, now Mother Nature post-repair bakes it. Things start moving and things can crack. So the solvents that weren't necessarily locked in for the curing process, now they have the potential to crack, and then they want to gas out. And once it cracks, then it lets moisture in, and then things start to fail a little bit farther in that sense. So always, always, always make sure you're curing and catalyzing properly. Check the substrate. Check the tech data sheet. Make sure it says it's going to be kind of compatible with the substrate that you're going to be working on. And if you're working with a gel coat and you have a gel coat, you put it on and it doesn't seem like it's cured properly, there's where, again, I say just take a deep breath. A lot of times we get phone calls where people have used a laminating gel coat or a laminating resin, and they meant to buy a finishing resin. Well, what's the difference? A laminating resin is going to stay sticky on the surface. So I tell them, here's the two ways to tell. If you can't put your thumbnail or a fingernail into it and it's hard, then it's cured. And then if your fingernail or your thumb or your finger leaves a fingerprint, that tells us it's still sticky on the surface. So it's ready to have another layer of material applied over top of it. Say if you're doing a layup with fiberglass, it'll hold that fiberglass matter cloth into place so you can re-wet it with the next layer of resin. That's what it's designed for. But if you put a gel coat down and you have that, what you can do is, if it's still sticky, you can spray a polyvinyl alcohol. We have a PVA mold release over top of it. If you get that done within a reasonable amount of time, there's information on the tech data sheet for that. Worst case you do is you get a finishing material and put a finishing material over top of it. Oftentimes I found if you used a laminating gel coat on a small repair, over time it will start to lose some of that tackiness, and you might be able just to wipe it with a little acetone to remove any residual tackiness that might be on the surface. See how it feels. If it meets the fingernail test and it's cured properly, you should be fine. If it has not met the fingernail test, then that tells you something's going on, and go back to the beginning of the podcast. So hopefully that helps to give you some quick information on the materials. Go to the website, evercoat.com. Look up the technical data sheet for the products. If you'd like more information on how to use some of the materials, by all means, feel free to go to evercoat.training.com. We've got some information there as well to help show proper techniques, as well as on our YouTube channel. So hopefully that helps. As always, stay safe and stay safe out there.